A lot of Miami Dolphins fans, and honestly, the entire football world, have been asking the same question. When will the Dolphins finally make a move on Mike McDaniel? Recently, NFL insider Ian Rappaport dropped a major update that could signal big changes coming to Miami. And trust me, this one got people talking. According to Rappaport, the Dolphins are sticking with what they have for now, hoping things turn around. But he made it clear, the message is out. Change is coming. Owner Stephen Ross has always liked and respected McDaniel. He's backed him with confidence and a big contract extension. But support doesn't last forever when the results keep slipping away. The recent struggles, the blowout losses, the tension in the locker room, and Tua Tagovailoa's controversial comments that had to be walked back, have pushed this team into the national spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The question everyone's asking is no longer what's wrong. It's what's next. Before we go any deeper into this, if you love talking NFL, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and share this video with your football friends. And of course, ring that bell icon so you never miss a breaking update like this one. Now, back to Rappaport's report. He emphasized again that change is coming to the Dolphins organization. It's just a matter of how and when. That's a strong statement from one of the league's most trusted insiders. So what kind of changes are we talking about? It could mean Chris Grier stepping aside. It could mean McDaniel being let go. Maybe even the end of the Tua-McDaniel partnership altogether. Dolphins fans, whether you're frustrated or hopeful, one thing's clear. This combination hasn't delivered when it matters most. Sure, they've had flashy wins in September and October, but when the stakes rise in January and February, they've fallen short. That's not what championship football looks like. So here's the real debate among fans right now. Should the Dolphins let McDaniel finish out the season, knowing the results might not change, just to lock in a higher draft pick? As of Week 8, Miami sits with the second overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, right behind the New York Jets, the only team they've beaten so far this season. Big questions, bigger consequences. And for Dolphins fans, it feels like the calm before the storm. Looking ahead, the Miami Dolphins still have some tough games on their schedule. They'll face the New York Jets again, take on the New Orleans Saints, and battle the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday Night Football. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Miami could either hurt their draft position by winning or help themselves by losing. I'm not saying tanking is the best strategy, but let's be honest, this season already feels like a lost cause. Maybe the front office decides to just ride it out. Let Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier finish the year, knowing their struggles might actually secure the Dolphins a top 3 pick in next year's NFL draft. That kind of draft position could finally trigger real change come January. New leadership, new direction, and hopefully, a brighter future for this franchise. Coming out of their bye week, Miami's got a brutal stretch ahead. They'll face Washington and Madrid, then host the Saints, and later travel to New York to meet the Jets again. Those games could define the Dolphins' draft fate. If they lose them, they might be sitting on the number 1 overall pick. If they win, they could slide down to 4th or 5th. That's why some fans believe it might actually be better to keep McDaniel in place. Let him finish what he started. Because, frankly, his struggles with preparation, game planning, and keeping the team motivated might unintentionally help Miami land that top draft slot. But here's the truth. While tanking might help long-term, accountability matters more. This franchise has been stuck in mediocrity for too long. No playoff wins in over 25 years. The Dolphins have become a punchline, and that starts at the top. Owner Stephen Ross must finally send a message that failure has consequences. When the head coach and general manager are held accountable, everyone else in the building takes notice. The front office, the locker room, the players. It creates a culture of responsibility and urgency that's been missing in Miami for years. Right now, that accountability doesn't exist. The complacency has spread through the organization like a virus, killing motivation, focus, and discipline. And unless it's stopped, the Dolphins will keep spinning in the same cycle of disappointment. It's time for Ross to show the football world that mediocrity won't be tolerated. That starts with making the tough call, moving on from both the head coach and the general manager. Because only then can the Miami Dolphins finally stop surviving seasons and start building a winning era. So, let's talk about the future, because if change is coming, we've got to ask the big question. Who replaces Mike McDaniel? There's no shortage of potential names, but I've narrowed it down to a top 5 list of head coaching candidates who could give the Miami Dolphins a real shot at redemption. Here's who stands out right now. Robert Saleh, former Jets head coach and 49ers defensive coordinator Mike McCarthy, former Packers and Cowboys head coach Jesse Minter, Chargers defensive coordinator Chris Shula, Rams defensive coordinator Anthony Campanile, Jaguars linebackers coach, who actually spent time on the Dolphins staff in the past, and for me, the top name, without hesitation, is Robert Saleh. Saleh's situation in New York never felt fair. He inherited a mess, dealt with shaky quarterback play, and had limited support from ownership. Yet, he's always been a fiery, disciplined leader who commands respect in the locker room. Since returning to San Francisco as defensive coordinator, he's helped that unit play inspired football, even when riddled with injuries. Just look at how they dominated the Falcons on Sunday Night Football without Fred Warner or Nick Bosa. That's elite coaching. Now, there are a couple of younger names who deserve serious consideration, too. Jesse Minter and Chris Shula. NFL insider Benjamin Albright recently mentioned Minter as a strong fit for Miami's next head coach, also noting Shula as someone worth interviewing. And while no source is 100% accurate, both coaches bring intriguing potential. Let's start with Jesse Minter. At 42, he's climbed the coaching ladder the hard way, starting at Notre Dame back in 2006, then moving to the Ravens, Vanderbilt, and later joining Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, where he helped build a national championship defense. When Harbaugh jumped to the Los Angeles Chargers, Minter followed him to lead that defense, and he's continued to shine. Working under both Jim and John Harbaugh has molded him into a smart, adaptable coach who knows how to build tough, disciplined teams that play physical football. That Harbaugh coaching tree has produced proven winners, and Minter could be the next name to carry that tradition into the NFL spotlight. The idea of a Harbaugh disciple leading the Dolphins is exciting. He brings intensity, structure, and a no-nonsense style. Exactly what Miami needs after years of inconsistency and chaos. Now, let's keep the spotlight on Jesse Minter for a moment, because his story just keeps getting more interesting. Minter actually comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree by way of John Harbaugh, who learned under Reid in Philadelphia. That lineage runs deep, and it shows in how Minter runs his defense in Los Angeles. The Chargers' defense under Minter has been solid, especially last season when they ranked first in points allowed per game, fourth in third down defense, and eighth in EPA per play. Sure, this season hasn't been quite as strong, but let's not twist the narrative. This isn't a bad defense. Some of the stats are skewed from one ugly outing against the Colts, who, believe it or not, have been one of the most efficient offenses in NFL history through the first 7 weeks. Even more efficient than the legendary 2007 Patriots in points per drive. That's context worth keeping in mind. Now, here's an angle that could seriously impact the Dolphins' coaching search: Stephen Ross's Michigan connection. Ross is a proud Michigan alum and major donor to the program. Back in 2022, he even said he wouldn't hire Jim Harbaugh because he didn't want to steal him away from his alma mater. Sounds crazy, right? But that loyalty runs deep, and it could work in Jesse Minter's favor, since Minter helped deliver Michigan's national championship as Harbaugh's defensive coordinator. If Ross is truly looking for a coach who embodies discipline, toughness, and winning culture, Minter checks every box. Now, let's shift to another intriguing name: Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, that's Shula. He's the grandson of the legendary Don Shula, the winningest head coach in NFL history and the architect of the Dolphins' only undefeated season. Chris Shula's been quietly building his own legacy. At just 39 years old, he's been part of Sean McVay's staff since 2017, working his way up through multiple defensive roles before earning the coordinator title. Being around McVay, one of the brightest offensive minds in football, has given Shula a unique edge. He understands how elite offenses think and attack, which makes him an even better defensive strategist. Even respected insiders like Peter Schrager have started putting Shula's name in the mix for future head coaching opportunities. Maybe he won't land a top job this cycle, but Miami should absolutely give him a long look. Imagine pairing a young, energetic coach like Shula, who carries the Shula legacy, with a sharp front office mind from that same Rams organization. That kind of partnership could be the foundation of a complete culture reset in Miami. And while the Rams' defense wasn't elite last season, Shula's growth as a play caller has been clear. In his second year running the unit, he's got them playing tough, disciplined, and smart football despite losing key veterans. That speaks volumes about his leadership and adaptability. At the end of the day, both Minter and Shula represent exactly what the Dolphins need: youth, fire, and the ability to build something sustainable. The Rams' defense this season deserves serious respect. They're one of the youngest units in the league, yet they've been outstanding. Despite all that youth across the defensive line and secondary, they currently rank second in points allowed, fifth on third downs, fourth in EPA per play, and 12th in total yards per game. That's incredible production for such a developing roster, and Chris Shula is a big reason why. Now, some critics like to toss around the nepotism word, claiming that Shula's success only comes from his last name. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Sure, being Don Shula's grandson gets attention, but Chris has earned every bit of his reputation through dedication and results. He was recognized early in his career as a talented coach, earning his first major opportunity under Craig Ehrman at the college level. From there, he's climbed the ladder on merit, not legacy. He's a hard-nosed leader, respected by players, and brings the same intensity that made his grandfather legendary, but in his own modern way. The only real concern is psychological, not professional. Coaching the Miami Dolphins, the same franchise his grandfather built into greatness, would come with massive expectations. Every move, every decision would be compared to Don Shula. That's a lot for any young coach to carry. So, if the Dolphins were to move on from Mike McDaniel and had to choose between Jesse Minter or Chris Shula, who's the right call? Personally, I'd lean toward Minter. He's already proven himself as a sharp defensive mind and has a strong connection to Michigan, something owner Stephen Ross values deeply. But honestly, both of these young coaches are rising stars in their own right. Still, if Miami wants stability, experience, and proven leadership, it might make more sense to go after a veteran. Names like Mike McCarthy or Robert Saleh immediately come to mind. McCarthy has a track record of long-term success with Green Bay and Dallas. He knows how to build a winning culture. Saleh, on the other hand, is an emotional leader, a motivator who gets the best out of his players. Either one could bring order and accountability back to Miami, two things this franchise has desperately needed. At the end of the day, whoever takes over the Dolphins must be ready for one of the toughest challenges in football, reviving a proud franchise that's been chasing its glory days for decades. And that's what makes this next decision so important. The next head coach of the Miami Dolphins won't just be leading a team. They'll be trying to restore a legacy.